Let's get this out of the way. It isn't confusing. It isn't complicated. It isn't broken. It works exactly as it's designed. Because if it were broken, someone would fix it. Oh, we don't fix systems that benefit. Comedians aren't confused about hate. We're confused about why the government keeps pretending censorship is compassion. Bill C9 isn't being sold as speech law. It's being sold as doing something. That's always the tell. Anytime a politician says, we have to act, that means we're about to act on the wrong things because it's faster. Comedy is not a polite conversation. Comedy is controlled disobedience. It exaggerates. It mocks. It pokes power until something leaks out. That's not an accident. That's the job. And Bill C9, it lowers the threshold of what qualifies for hate. That is not a typo. That's widening the net. And comedians know what's happening when nets widen. You stop catching sharks and you start catching everything that moves. Supporters always say, relax, this isn't about comedians. That's what they say every time, everywhere, forever. You don't need mass arrests to shut people up. You just need enough ambiguity that clubs, networks, and festivals start asking, is this worth the risk? That's the chilling effect. It's not a metaphor, it's a business decision. Once performers start editing jokes for real interpretation, for legal interpretation, instead of truth, comedy turns into HR training. Nobody laughs, nobody thinks, and everyone claps politely and then goes home unchanged. Comedy doesn't survive that. It suffocates. And here's the part that should make everyone angry. We already have laws, real hate crime laws. Incitement of genocide? Illegal. Threats? Illegal. Harassment? Illegal. Terrorism? Illegal. The problem isn't the weak laws. The problem is enforcing them is inconvenient. Enforcement takes work, courage, consistency. Redefining speech is easier. It looks busy. It photographs well. So instead of confronting real harm, we relabel speech as of the problem and hand the state more discretion over what Canadians are allowed to say. To comedians, that reads as vibes over the internet. Oh, vibes over intent. And here's where this connects to everybody else that are afraid to talk. Here's a stat nobody wants to hear. 30 years. There are communities in this country that have been under toxic boil advisories for 30 years. That's not an emergency. That's policy with a smile. 30 years means kids were born, grew up, had kids of their own, and the water was poisoned the whole time. Every single day, someone in charge woke up, turned on a clean tap, brushed their teeth, and thought, still not my problem. And don't insult me. with budget constraints. This country prints money for stupidity like it's a patriotic duty. There's money for wars that never end, bailouts, stock buybacks, surveillance, and lawyers whose only real skill is turning crime into paperwork. But water? Woo-hoo. Oh, that's tricky. No, murder is tricky. Water is plumbing. You know what's tricky? Explaining to a parent why their kid can't drink from the tap while some billionaires buy their fourth house with a panic room. I'll call it self care. And then, my favorite part, the lecture that comes to us about public safety. Public safety? We can't even keep predators off the street. They get reported, they get flagged, they get a drive to see the judge, and they get released again and again and again. Because the justice system isn't blind, it just has excellent vision for money. If you're poor, law moves fast. If you're rich, justice needs time to stretch, yawn, check its calendar, and ask for more documents. And when the worst happens, press conference. Everyone looks shocked, like this wasn't the most predictable outcome imaginable. We're told, trust the process, which is political for, please stop paying attention. And this is why comedians matter. Because when power stops making sense, comedians are the early warning system. Lenny Bruce was not arrested because jokes were dangerous. He was arrested because power hates being laughed at. George Carlin didn't get complaints because people didn't understand him. He got complaints because they did. Every time speech law expands, comedians become the test case. Not the worst offenders, the most visible ones. When interpretation matters more than intention, satire becomes evidence. Context becomes optional. Humor becomes suspicious by default. Suspicious by default. And while we're busy fighting the culture wars, the real problems glide through the borders. Shell companies, offshore accounts. Because crime doesn't hide anymore. Crime has shareholders. And the dumbest lie of all, this is about ideology. It isn't. It's about extraction. Taking everything, leaving nothing. Blame the poor for bleeding. Then call them unreasonable when they notice. Well, here's the truth. Simple enough to fit on a sign. Normal people don't want power. We want clean water, streets without predators circling through the bail system, and a future where your kids do not have to boil water to survive school. That's it. Not socialism, not utopia, not revolutions with merch, just basic dignity without a GoFundMe page link. And if your wealth or legislation requires silence, ambiguity, fear the population being too exhausted to push back, don't call it leadership. Don't call it safety. Don't call it compassion. Call it what it is. Control. Because once jokes need permission, the joke is already over. And the people who should be most afraid of that are the ones who can't survive without silence. I'm Laura Briggs, and that's my time.